That's better. And we're live. Hey everybody, it is MacTac, and I'm still not at Heads or Tails Gaming. I am going to be doing, or hopefully doing, more frequent streams here on my own channel from now on. And they will be here or in some other random location if I find something that exciting to stream about. But for tonight's stream, I will be talking about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie that just came out. Warning, spoiler alerts, if there is any in this. I don't know if there will be, but that's why the warning is out there. The movie came out in the UK on Wednesday, the 25th. Released here a day early. It was supposed to come out technically tonight. It was supposed to release, but they changed the release date. It came out yesterday. So I'm gonna go over it. Actually, I'm gonna start with my experience at the theater, because this story was actually kind of funny. So we get to the theater, jam-packed. A couple weeks ago, or if not like a week or so ago, I went to the theater with my brother and my nan, and we went to see Saw X. And on the same night as Saw, they were playing the Taylor Swift movie. There was a lot of people there for the Taylor Swift movie. Like, there was so many people there. And you could tell who was going to see that movie because of everyone. They had the cups because they were selling like Taylor Swift cups. They had like Taylor Swift popcorn buckets. And then everyone was wearing some kind of Taylor Swift shirt, whether it was like a homemade one that had like albums on it, or like the album names on it, a store-bought one that had her on it. You knew who was going to see that movie. And I thought that was jam-packed. We went to go and see the FNAF movie tonight. I take it back of how crowded Taylor Swift was. This was worse. There were like 5 different lines for concession and ticket buying. It was crazy. We stood in line easily almost 20 minutes just to get our stuff. And I know that doesn't sound that bad, but I haven't stood in line like 20 minutes ever at a movie. I think we've been in and out of line 5 to 10 minutes. We were standing in line for quite a bit. They even had 2 different people doing the tickets. So one person was doing paper tickets, other person was doing the e-tickets where you had to like scan them if you bought them online. And it was crazy. These poor workers, you just see their faces. They're like done with their jobs. They did not want to be there tonight. I felt so bad for these workers. They were just like huffing and puffing. They were like so busy. They were just running around everywhere. It was chaos in there. So because of how busy it was, we actually ended up being late for our movie. We walked in and the movie had already started. I thought that theater number 1, because we have 8 different theaters at our Cineplex here in town. We have 8 different theaters. They were running FNAF, and I think 2 of them at least. I thought we were in theater 1 until I looked at the time, and that was the 7:10 one. We were in for the 6:40 one. It was already 7 o'clock, and yep, I even asked 2 different workers, and it's like, have they started the movie yet? Because like I was really worried that they had already started it. I figured they already did. I did not think they were gonna wait. They kind of can't, because they have other movie times and other movies that they have to run in those theaters. But yeah, we ended up being a little late for it. So we get in there. It's dark. Like dark scene. There's not a lot of light in there. So of course, going into a lit theater before the movie starts, you have the lights on. You can see like the row numbers or letters, and then like the seat numbers and that on like the elbow rests or whatever, right? Like where your seat is. We did not. We walked up a couple rows, right? And I was just eyeballing this. I'm like, I don't even know where we're seated. We were in row E, and so this kind guy turned to us and was like, "Oh, like this is row E here." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." So me and my brother, we start shuffling down the line. We were in seat 6 and 7, and I'm looking and I'm like, "There's no seats available in this row." And I'm like, I think someone's sitting in our seat, but I didn't know what seat was ours, so I couldn't go down asking what seat was seat 6 and 7. Because, again, I couldn't see it. And I'm that kind of person where I don't want to be in the way of someone else watching a movie. I felt so bad about that, even shuffling down that row. So we shuffled down the whole row. And we ended up on the other side of the theater where we were in the first place. And so I turned to my brother and I'm like, well, sit. So we sat on the stairs. You're not allowed to do that, but there was nowhere to sit. So we sat on the stairs for a little bit. There was actually 3 other people behind us doing that as well. They were also, there were quite a couple people sitting on the stairs because they either couldn't find their seats or their seats had someone else in it. Or I think they just might have forgot where they were sitting, because I did see this one guy wrap around twice. He passed me 2 different times looking for a seat. So we're sitting there for a little bit, and I seen my friend. She was in the row behind us. She wasn't like right behind us, but she was kind of like over a bit, but she was right in the row behind us. And then so I happened to look over towards her because I'm looking for a seat, because I don't want to sit on the stairs for almost a 2-hour movie. Like, I'm gonna break my back or something. Like, I'm gonna be so sore. So I'm looking for really any seat I can find, whether it's mine or not. So I'm looking around and I noticed 2 seats next to my friend, coincidentally enough. And so I tapped my brother and I'm like, come on. So I grabbed him. We went over to our seats and, well, sorry, not our seats, these seats that were available. And I turned to my friend. I'm like, is anyone sitting here? And I just sit down. You know, it's one of like those movie clips where it's like, hey, is anyone, drinking this? And like that, right? I'm like, so be it. And she's like, well, someone was sitting here, but they left and haven't been back for 20 minutes. I'm like, well, we're sitting here for now. A woman and her daughter ended up coming into the theater not even 5 minutes later, with a worker. And they were talking with other people that were like down at the far end of the row that we were now sitting in. And they were talking about like, how like she paid for her seats, which I totally understand, but I thought that those were their seats. And then all of a sudden, I heard her say something about like, oh, these people probably like wanted to sit with their friends or whatever, right? And then he was like, well, which ones were yours? And she goes, those ones. And she points in our direction. So obviously I'm like clued into this, and I'm like, oh, these are probably their seats. And I realized that. But I was just happy the worker was there, so then I could bring up the fact that our seats had people in them that weren't us. So he, shuffles down the row a little bit to where we were, and I'm like, are these their seats? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, we're seated in row E, 6 and 7, and there's people in our seats. He's like, okay. So we get up, we go. I apologized. I'm like, I'm sorry. He was like, that's okay. I think the woman was just done with everybody in that theater. It was chaos tonight. So, we go over to our seats, and, he's trying to see what seats are which, what row and seats they're supposed to be in, why they aren't there. And they spent the next like 5 to 10 minutes trying to figure out where people's seats were, because there were a bunch of people in the wrong seat. So it started with those 2 and then us. And then the people that were sitting in our seats, they had people sitting in theirs, and then those people had people sitting in theirs, and then they finally figured it out. But that took quite a while. Like, it took way longer than I honestly thought that seating was going to take. Like, when you purchase a ticket, whether it's at the like do yourself station, whatever, like you can buy your tickets over at like the self station, you can go up to concession, buy your tickets with your food or that, or you can buy them online. But wherever you buy them, you pick your seats. So you literally pick where you sit. It's not like they just assign you a seat, or it's a, sit where you want. It's like a free for all. No, you pick your seat. So I don't know how that many people ended up in the wrong seat, but so that was the first chaos. Second chaos was there was a lot of people talking. there was more kids in that theater than I thought there were gonna be. It does have a 14 rating. Not that that matters. Like, parents take their kids as they please. Heck, my dad took my brother to go see Deadpool, so whatever. And it was classified as a horror movie. Not that it was. So a lot more kids there than I thought there were gonna be. So quite a few of them were talking. I don't know. It was nuts. Yep, lots of kids. Those are really the only issues, but I mean, overall it wasn't a bad movie, and now that's what we're gonna get into. So, because of how crazy it was in the lobby, we ended up being a little late for the movie, so I missed the entrance scene, and I walked in at the part where he's just finishing talking with Matthew Lillard's character, like the main guy, Mike, I think is his name. I literally just seen it, but I'm horrible with names. I'm not bad with names. They just finished talking and we walked in that part. I was kind of upset because I am a huge fan of Matthew Lillard, so I was really hoping to see his scenes, but he was in it again, so I wasn't too upset about it. At least I got to see some of his acting in the movie. This kind of, I don't know. I don't know like 100% all of the FNAF lore, but I don't remember anyone having a brother. So I think that was new. The main character, his brother, was taken and was put into one of the suits. I don't remember that happening. But again, I don't know the whole lore. They didn't cover much lore. It was more about the animatronics and the children. They actually had like kid actors portraying the children that are in the animatronics, so like the crying children. I thought that was really cool. And the way like they assign these kids pretty well. Like, I mean, they look like they suit the animatronics. Like the kid that was in Freddy, he suited Freddy. Not pun intended, but pun intended. So I thought that was a really cool like add-on. I don't know if it was intentional. Well, obviously casting's intentional, but I mean for the kids to look so close to like the animatronics, like it made sense who they casted. That's what I'm trying to get at. The animatronics looked really good. Jim Henson's Creature Studio was the last thing I read on who did the animatronics. They looked really good. I loved the look of them. I loved the design of them. The movements were really good. The only thing that confuses me is it's like they'll be here in one part and then like over here in another scene, like 2 seconds later. It's like, how do they move that fast, right? It's like Sonic. But no, the look of them was phenomenal. Again, the movements, just the look and everything. They even had like the glowing eyes, like they do in the game. Chica had her signature cupcake with her, which is obviously a for sure need thing. When it comes to her character, he did do some attacking. That little cupcake. Though one scene was it's like he was laying on the ground, and then like the lights went out, and all of a sudden he was upright. I turned in and I looked at my brother, and I'm like, how did he get up? Right? He doesn't have arms, he doesn't have legs, and it's like, did he just kind of like throw himself in the air? Like, I guess that's what he could have done to get up. Just, throw himself. Did that anyway. They had a good cast. I don't know any of the other actors' names aside from Lillard, but I mean, everyone who they casted did a good job. I think they did really well. Yeah, that's about it for the acting. They did pretty good. The one scene where they broke into, like, the group of them broke into Freddy's during the day. There was one scene where, and you see this part in the trailer, but you don't see the end result of it. This girl follows a kid into a room where Freddy is, and she hears the laughing from the child. And so she grabs a chair and she stands up on it and she's looking in Freddy's mouth, right? Because she's looking for something, whether it be like, some kind of like life in this animatronic, and she could be looking for the kid. But she was looking for something. She was really looking. And all of a sudden, a hand comes flying out of his mouth, and you don't actually see this, but you see it in the shadow on the wall. That's the only thing they show. But all of a sudden, Freddy lunges forward and grabs her and just bites her in half. That scene was honestly unexpected. You could hear the theater, right? They were like, oh my god, right? They were not expecting that. Neither was I. I even looked at my brother and I was like, yep, that was unexpected. I thought she was gonna fall back, like, off of the chair and like hit her head or something. Was not expecting that ending. The little girl had like a connection with the animatronics. Why? Not sure. Saying that they were her friends. That was kind of creepy. Honestly, in the beginning, I thought they were. Well, everyone thought that they were like imaginary friends. I guess her aunt thought she was like crazy or delusional or whatever because she was, saying that these things were her friends, and they didn't know that they were real. But then her brother pieced it together, and he's like, "Oh, it's them," because she'd been drawing pictures. She loves drawing pictures. Vanessa was in the movie. I know that she's Vanny when it comes to security breach. They showed no sign of that in this movie. There was nothing like that on her, to her, or whatever. Though they did bring out Spring Bonnie. Or Springtrap in this sense. Is, I guess, what it would have become, or is becoming. Again, you hear the theater. I definitely went nuts. Like, obviously I'm sitting in theater, can't go too crazy, but I got excited when he walked out. Figured he was going to be in the movie, but it was just more exciting. Excuse me, oh my goodness. It was just more exciting to actually see it over just hearing about it or seeing it in the trailer. The movie is always more exciting than the trailer, just because it's the full thing. You get excited watching the trailer, but it's even better in the movie, just because you see all the details. Though there was three or four girls sitting like in front of us, and there was a scene where this guy who was a taxi driver, and when he came on the screen, they started going crazy. And we were like, oh my god! It's like, my brother turned to me and he goes, I don't know who that is. I'm like, beats me. I don't know either. So, I don't know if they like the actor, if maybe he's, like a character known in the game, like supposed to be portraying like a well-known character, even though it's just a taxi driver. Maybe they'd seen this scene had like watched the scene on like YouTube or something like that prior to, and so they knew it was coming. But that was actually a pretty funny scene. The little girl gets in the taxi, and he's like, oh, well, where are you off to? And all of a sudden it's back to him, and you see the taxi just like lower, right? And then you hear like the clinking of and, like the moving of like robot joints, and all of a sudden he moves his mirror. It's like Freddy's in the back seat. I want to know how he fit in that. Okay, these things are like 8 feet tall. They're massive, and when he's sitting in this car, his head is like the size of 2 seats. So it's like, I wonder where the rest of his body went. I don't know if he folded it underneath him or where the room was in this car, because it was only like the only seats in this car was a back bench with like the passenger and driver's seat. It was a pretty small car. Don't know how he fit in there. I turned to my brother. I'm like, I want to know how they, realistically how he fit in that car, because that's pretty funny. Yeah, there were a couple funny scenes. There was another scene where they were building a fort. It was the 4 animatronics, Vanessa, and then the main little girl and the main guy. So they're all building this fort, and all of a sudden Bonnie just falls over, like right on his back, just like, because it's not like they fall like us where it's like we can kind of catch ourselves. They just like, boom, they're done. And all of a sudden the little girl's like, oh my god, like, are you okay, Bonnie? And then he just goes, he puts up his gives a thumbs up, and it's like, you wouldn't do that. He'd fall over and he'd be like, help. He wouldn't even say help. He'd just lay there until someone helped him. Like that would be Bonnie. I feel like that would Bonnie would definitely do that. Again, based on lore, they didn't cover too much. They revealed what William Afton did, and who he was, being Spring Bonnie, or Spring Trap. We know him in the game. They covered that. Like, they found out that like he took the kids, he put them in the suits, stuff like that. The ending makes you believe there's makes you believe that there's a second one. Of course, like in other videos, other lore videos, maybe even the game, if there's clues in there. I have not really in-depthly played them all. But like in the lore, the spring locks do lock on him. They get him. And then this is after the animatronics found out what he did, and learned the truth about him, that he was the one that had killed them and put them in the suits. So after the spring locks had closed on him, the animatronics grabbed him and they took him to a back room. And they just kind of left him there. And that was like the end of the movie. And it's like, clearly there's got to be a second one. You cannot leave it there. I want to know if he comes back for like revenge, right? Because they never helped him. Also, this whole video has been a spoiler alert, but he does end up, like William, before the spring locks lock on him, he ends up stabbing Vanessa, which you find out is his daughter, actually. So he stabs her, and she ends up in the hospital. The last scene you see of her is her in a hospital bed with like the I think it's like a ventilator. It's got a breathing tube in it. I think it's like a ventilator or something like that. I don't know what they're called, but thing for breathing. She's hooked up to machines and stuff like that. So you don't like see if she's like she recovers. You don't see that she recovers. We're gonna assume she does. We don't know that for sure. So I think they should definitely make a second movie, even though we have waited 9 years for this one. Hopefully, if they do make a second one, we will not be waiting as long. I do not want to be in, I guess it'd be 20s. Yeah, I kind of don't want to be in my 20s still waiting for a FNAF movie. Not that I'm not going to be, like, out of the FNAF, like, stop liking FNAF when I get my 20s. I just don't want to have to wait that long. because this was a good movie. Overall rating, give it about a 7 or 8 out of 10. I just wish they covered more of the lore. There are still D&D stuff. There's so many conversations still going on online about who did what bite. Like Bite of 83 and the Bite of 87. There are still there are still arguments going on about that online. Nobody has come to like dead final answer. Everyone thinks it's someone else. Always. Some people think it was Mangle, some people think it was like Toy Bonnie, other people think it was Foxy. It's like no one knows. So I wish they covered that. Kind of didn't. So maybe the after credits were quite funny as well. We stayed until that screen went black. Like, and you saw people standing in the theater, like they didn't even sit in their seats. I went over to talk to my friend because it was just like the basic ending credits. Kind of asking, a couple questions, generally talking, and then my brother's like tapping me. And I'm like, yeah, what, right? And then all of a sudden it's like it clued in. It's like it's talking. It was spelling something out. I thought it was a countdown until I heard him say a letter. And it's like, oh, that's spelling something out. That's definitely going to end up online somewhere, so I'm probably going to go back and try and figure out what it's spelling out. Maybe it's his second movie. They could. Maybe it's spelling out an animatronic's name or something. I don't know. I don't really hear it, nor did I have a notepad to write down all the letters to actually spell it out, because I am horrible at spelling. I'm pretty bad at spelling. So I don't know. But the ending credits were really funny. It was the taxi guy again. He was sitting in his car, and he had his hat over his eyes. And someone knocks on the window of the car. And he's like, oh, like, no more tonight, right? And then you hear the door open and close. And he goes, man, I said no more tonight. And as he's taking off his hat, he's saying this. He's like, I said no more tonight. And he turns and looks. And Balloon Boy, not like the full animatronic, just like little figure, maybe this big, is sitting on a seat. And he just freaks out. Like, he just starts screaming. And of course it cuts like mid-scream. So it's like, it's even more funny just because like cut off screams like that are just hilarious. Especially when they're high pitched like that. That's pretty funny. But yeah, movie wasn't bad. Usually the theater has like, I guess, merch, you could say, or like items that you can buy. They did not have any for FNAF. I wish they did. Like for Saw, they had a Saw cup and a Saw popcorn bucket, as well as a cup topper that looked absolutely hilarious in the like screens that they were showing for it. It's like you'd be standing up and then you'd be like flopped over, and it's like that looks so funny. They even had a popcorn bucket and a cup for Taylor Swift. Yeah, you couldn't have one for Five Nights at Freddy's. We've been waiting for this movie for like 8 or 9 years. But it's okay. We still got to see it. I think that was the best part. Really didn't matter about the cup or popcorn bucket anyway, because I got frozen yogurt. If you go to any Cineplex, I recommend the frozen yogurt. It's actually really good. But yeah, overall, a good movie. I recommend it. I heard mixed reviews online for it before I even went and seen it. Like, I was reading a little bit today on Facebook, actually. They said it wasn't as gory, which my friend said there was a lot of gore. I disagree. I've seen movies that have way more gore in it than that. But for what it was, it had a reasonable amount of gore in it. The movie definitely should not have been classified as a horror. There was barely any jump scares in it. I think it was just more shock value. Honestly, after the credits, we all thought there was going to be a jump scare, but there wasn't. I wish there was. That would have been funny. They played The Living Tombstone for the ending credits. That was awesome. That they did that. They had the very typical, camera, like TV setup and all that. In the office, in the first scene when he goes, or when he first goes into Freddy's, they even had the striped cup. It's like the attention, the fans, the doorways, like everything, and it's like, wow. The rooms look awesome. Like they had all the party tables set up and everything. That was really awesome. There's not really much to say about the movie. It was good for a movie based on a game. Again, I just hope there's a second one. So I guess that's all for me. Anyway, I have to be up early tomorrow because I'm going on a day trip. So that is all for me. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to me rant on about the FNAF movie. I will probably do another FNAF video at some point, just kind of generally talking about the game, maybe breaking them down, going through them, what I like and dislike about each game. I will probably do that at some point because I've played a couple of them, and seen some gameplays. But anyway, that is it for this stream. Be sure to like and subscribe. I would like to actually hear your guys' opinions about the movie as well. So whether you were here for the stream or watch it later, leave a comment. Tell me what your rating is and what your, opinion on it is. Or you can message me on Instagram. I almost forgot the butter. Amazing tag. I'd say so myself. But anyway, I will be back soon enough with another stream. But that is all for me tonight. So I will see you guys later.